What's going on, guys? So, on this Shoky review thing, we're gonna do something a little bit different. The other day, I saw something on Nostalgia Critic, and it did his top 10 kind of emotional movie moments, or emotional TV moments, something like that. And that got me thinking, I'm like, yeah, I definitely get emotional when it comes to TV, movies, anime, all the things. So, realistically, I want to go ahead and do the same thing. Yeah, blatantly copying Nostalgia Critic, who's probably copying someone else, but hey, Nostalgia Critic's awesome. Now, of course, my list is going to be different from his, because it is what it is. And also, my list is probably going to be different from yours. However, as you noticed from the title, I didn't go with top 10, because I couldn't narrow it down to 10, and you guys know I have a big enough problem with that anyway, so I'm going at least top 15. There are some combo things in this, but it is what it is. These are some of my favorite series slash movies, and the favorite emotional moments from those. Now, it doesn't have to be just straight up sad moments where it makes me cry, but it can be the uplifting moments, it can be the hell yeah moments, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's if it really elicits an emotional response, like a real one, not just like, you know. That's what I'm going for here. So these are Shoky's top 15 emotional moments in TV, movies, anime, and whatever else. So let's get to it. Oh, and by the way, spoiler warning is in effect, because you never know. If you guys haven't seen these things, and I have, you never know. Number 15, Transformers the Movie. Now guys, of course, I'm an old school Transformers fan, grew up in G1, things like that. Now, unfortunately, I didn't see the original Transformers movie when it was brand new, because I was only 3 years old. So it took a little while. But by the time I did see it, you know, I was, of course, knee-deep in Transformers at that point. And, of course, the thing we're going to talk about is Optimus Prime's death. Now, the reason this one is so low on the scale is because, realistically, it was massive when I was a kid, you know. I mean, you're seeing one of the greatest heroes die. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with the G.I. Joe movie. But, you know, the biggest thing about it, you know, you pass on the matrix of leadership from him to Hot Rod, and of course it's been built up the whole movie that Hot Rod is the savior. And then, of course, he kills Unicron, beats up Galvatron, and then, yay, a new era of peace is upon us, you know, till all are one, all the goodness. But the problem is that the series ruined what the movie did by bringing Optimus back, not just once, but I think 3 times. I could be wrong. But in the end, of course, he did have to come back in season 3 or 4, and basically ended up getting full-on resurrected, instead of just brought back as a puppet, stuff like that. But basically, taking the sting out of the death of Optimus ruined that. That's also the other reason it's at the bottom. And of course, Michael Bay really didn't do him any favors by also trying to recreate that same death, and the whole concept of the Matrix and all that stuff in his movie. Although the actual fight with Optimus versus all the Decepticons, and him basically kicking ass, that was a great moment, and of course he dies at the hands of Megatron. But, you know, that's it for number 15, guys. Number 14, The Never-Ending Story. So, realistically, if you were a kid of the 80s, you saw the Never-Ending Story movies. At least the first 2. The third one was garbage. Let's just go there. Second one, probably a little bit of garbage too. However, the first one, that was a hell of a kids movie. That thing had deep, painful consequences and stuff you wouldn't think that you would see in a kids movie. That's almost like Last Unicorn level of messed up stuff to show kids. And of course, the 2 moments I'm talking about in specific, and it's the Swamp of Sadness scene. You've got Atreyu trying to get through it, you know, his bravery just keeping him moving, but Artex, after just slogging through the mud, just finally gives in. Of course, his horse. And they had to use a bright, perfect white horse being sunk into this dark, disgusting mud. And the fact that they shot it, I mean, you see every panicked moment of that horse sinking into the mud. I still want to know to this day how they shot that without actually injuring the animal. But the fact that, you know, up until now, it's just this big hero moment, and realistically, Atreyu doesn't do anything throughout the entire movie, if you're honest with yourselves. But you see him, he just finally gives up, and he just, like, lets the sadness overwhelm him and literally sinks to his own death. That is ridiculous in a kid's movie. And as a kid, you're just screaming, no, Artex, no. And then, of course, you see Atreyu after that, you know, he gets out and he just dead to, you know, emotionally exhausted and just gives up because he just lost his closest friend, not to mention his ride, literally. And then near the end of the movie, you know, the empty or the nothingness is taking over, and Atreyu is actually up against Gmork, which we've seen a little bit throughout the movie, but it's the first time we get to see it up close. And it's in a cave, it's in mostly darkness, and you see these huge green glowing eyes and the teeth, and this giant wolf thing. And going back watching it now, it's not that big a deal. Watching it then, holy crap, that is the most terrifying thing ever. Like, I think between that and the thing that's chasing Alice and Through the Looking Glass, or Return to Oz, I should say, that's pretty freaking terrifying. And I didn't even include that movie in here because I couldn't remember enough about it except for the thing that's following her. And not just the rollers or something else. But either way, you know, never-ending story. Those few moments, along with riding, you know, you get the happy moments too. You get riding on the back of Falcor and stuff like that. That's awesome. Not gonna lie, that isn't anywhere near as like epic as this. And of course, the moment between the Sphinxes, that's pretty weird in and of itself. But you know, it is what it is. Number 13, Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episodes 5 and 6, Favor the Bold and Sacrifice of Angels. Guys, if you don't know that I'm a Star Trek nerd, and I don't want to be called a Trekkie or a Trekker, I'm definitely a Star Trek nerd. I love DS9. I know a lot of hardcore fans really didn't like it. They didn't dig the change from The Next Generation. And some people even don't like it over Voyager. And I'm like, okay, whatever. DS9 is probably one of my favorite Star Trek series ever. And this two-part episode, they're big on two-part episodes. It was still fresh at the beginning of the season. It was episodes 5 and 6. Realistically, leading up to this, at the end of the previous season, they had lost, the Federation lost control of DS9 to the Dominion. The Dominion came in, took it over, the Cardassians are back in effect and everything like that. But Sisko left his damn baseball on the desk, making sure that Dukat knew that he was coming back for it. Love that moment, first of all. But this episode, the Starfleet and the Federation have gotten together everything they can, every ship they can. They're going back because right before they left an invisible minefield of self-replicating mines. Most badass idea ever. To guard the wormhole, to keep the Dominion from sending reinforcements. But they found out that they now can disable it. So now it's a rush to get back to the station to stop them from actually disabling the minefield. So they've got this massive fleet, every ship they can possibly gather, and they're trying to get back to DS9. And of course, giant Dominion fleet. You've got the actual Dominion, you've got the Cardassians. I think there's even some Kree in there. Could be wrong. Not Kree, good lord. Wrong. Krill? Yeah, Krill ships in there too. I know eventually, no, they took over for the Cardassians later. Either way. But you've got this much bigger fleet. They're outnumbered at least 4 to 5 to 1. It's ridiculous. So they do a full-on assault. Of course, Sisko's in the Defiant with all the DS9 crew. They're trying to get through. Ships are being lost right and left. And they decide to play a gamble. They decide to set a trap for Sisko. And they open up a gap in the lines. And said he can't not do it. And he's like, so he goes for it. And I forget exactly what happened. Something does not go according to plan. An extra ship gets taken out. Or maybe it's the arrival of the Klingons. I can't remember exactly what happened. I think it was the Klingons. Come in and attack from another side, allowing Sisko to get through. He's the only ship that gets through. The Defiant, boom, maximum warp, headed toward DS9. First of all, I love the Defiant. My favorite ship in Star Trek ever is the Defiant. So he gets through. So they're still trying to get to DS9 in time to stop. But you also got the rest of the crew that's on DS9. Rebelling, setting traps, setting booby traps for things. Disabling little things here and there. But they capture Rom. They capture Kira and everybody. They lock them up. Odo's busy off with the female founder. Learning all about the link and getting on weird shape changer sex. But Quark of all people, with Rom's woman, ends up breaking them out of jail. He actually takes his gun. Quark kills some freaking Jemadar. That's awesome. And he's so shocked he can't move. He's still holding the gun. He's like, come on, we gotta go. So you got Rom and Kira trying to disable the weapon system so that they can not take out the minefield. Everything is coming down to the last minute. And they finally do it. Yeah, but not in time. So they wipe out the giant minefield of invisible, self-replicating mines. First of all, amazing idea. Never get to see it in action. It's so dumb. We get to see them deploy it, we get to see it blow up, but we never actually get to see ships flying into it. That would have been awesome. I'm sorry. So, minefield gets wiped out, and Sisko arrives just in time to see it. Heartbreaking moment. All the hard work up until now has been for nothing, and there's an enormous Dominion armada coming through the wormhole. So what does he do? The only thing he can do. He takes the Defiant into the wormhole. He's going to stop him with one little ship. Little. So he goes in there, stuck right in the middle of the wormhole. Here comes the thousands of ships. And I mean thousands of ships coming through the wormhole. Defiant all alone. He gets pulled in by the wormhole aliens, or the prophets, as it were. Has a long discussion with them about, you need to interfere, you've got to deal with corporeal matters. And they're like, we don't do that. You know, we only deal with you because you're the Sisko. And of course, at this point, Sisko has no clue what his destiny is. Has none of these things. He just knows that he keeps interacting with them, and they're interested in him and his life. And they don't want him to die. And they say that, you know, he tells them, you say you're of Bajor. You made sure these people set up a religion in your name to worship you. You care about Bajor. You care about things that happen on the corporeal plane. Bajor is going to be destroyed if you don't interfere. And they're like, fine, we're going to interfere, but it's going to cost you. And at that point, Sisko has no clue what they're talking about. But they tell him that his path will take a different, or his pa will take a different path. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch DS9. God, there's a lot of deep religious stuff in that. Just, you have to watch it. But he doesn't know what they're talking about. He doesn't see the consequences of his actions. All he does see when he comes back is thousands of Dominion ships disappearing. They just disappear into the wormhole, never to be existed ever again. Turns around, they come back out. You've got Dukat, you've got everybody else in ops watching, and they're like, here comes our fleet. And then here comes the Defiant by itself. And they're like, oh crap. So fire weapons. Crap, the weapons are disabled. Remember? Rom did that. It's been so heavy right after that. You're like, oh yeah, they don't have weapons. You've forgotten because they forgot. Or they didn't even know. And Defiant starts attacking the base. And then they find out other places now are starting to lose. Other Federation ships are coming in. So the Dominion bail. There's a couple other moments after that, you know, they're okay. You see Dukat get really... Dukat kind of gets his right then by losing his own daughter. But, you know, to his, like, second in command, it's crazy. It's just, wow. There's a lot of good moments. I almost went for the finale of DS9, but this moment was bigger. It's like, but this was bigger than losing DS9, giving it up. But I could have also gone with the first time we saw the Defiant, but I didn't go there. This moment, probably top moment of DS9. Just the waves of emotions of failure, victory, failure, 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 victory, at the final cost of everything. So yeah, that's why it's awesome. Number 12, Dragon Ball Z. Goku and Vegeta's battle and their beam struggle. Okay, so a lot of you guys are probably like, what the hell, why is this so far down the list? And I'll tell you why this is so far down the list. Because there's so much bigger stuff above it. That's the only reason why it's number 12. But guess what? It's on the list because I had to have it here. As a teenager, watching Dragon Ball Z on what I guess was Channel 39 back then, you know, our local affiliate. Early morning, it's coming on before I'm going to school, and we've had the whole Saiyan saga built up before this. You see everything that's happened to Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, everybody training And then you see Vegeta and Nappa finally show up. They wipe the floor with everybody. Goku shows up finally at the last minute after almost everybody's dead. Whoops on Nappa, then finally goes against the Prince himself. The ensuing battle, and I couldn't put it into a single episode because obviously it wasn't a single episode. Most of the battle between Goku and Vegeta, especially when Goku starts pushing the limits of Kaioken. He goes Kaioken 2, he goes Kaioken 3, and he's just wrecking his body. Not to mention he's huge, swole, just beating Vegeta to the point that he just says, "Screw it, I'm blowing up this whole damn planet." Which, we've already seen him blow up a planet before, very easily, just 2 fingers. Poor planet Arlia. Never had a chance. But wait, Vegeta, I want to see the mate! Go watch Bridged. Just Vegeta in the sky powering up his beam. Goku knowing that he's only got one chance. Does his Kamehameha. It is so ridiculous. Like, just, it is a perfect thing. You just see purple beam, blue beam, the zoom out, and you just see the explosion. It's just like, holy crap. And it's just like, flashing, noises, screaming, all this. Like, what the hell is happening on my TV? Never seen anything like that before. Ever. They invented beam struggles, I think, at that point. I mean, mind you, there probably had been some in Dragon Ball. But, you know, this was a whole new level, literally. And then Goku breaks his own limits again. Kaioken times 4, and just the beam triples in density and just takes Vegeta out. And it's like, holy crap, guys. Like, yeah, it's number 12 and I still get hype over it, but there's more emotion behind all the rest of the stuff above this. And I know there's people, fanboys, screaming at the screen. It's like, guess what? There's better stuff in Super. Okay, it's maybe not better, but it's like, bigger than that would probably be, if I had to go there, maybe Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 finally and whooping up on Cell, and then his beam struggle with Cell was pretty epic. But this was the first, this was the biggest, and of course it was Goku versus Vegeta. The lifelong rivalry began there, and that's what mattered. Alright, so before we get into the top 10, we still have to deal with number 11, and that is Stargate Atlantis, Season 3, Episodes 7 and 17, Sunday and Midway. Guys, obviously I'm a Star Trek fan, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm a Stargate fan. And Atlantis had some awesome moments, but Season 3 really had 2 very, like, differently emotional episodes. Now, episode 17, Midway, was more of a fun episode because you got the 2 biggest badasses from Stargate Atlantis and SG-1 together. You got Teal'c on Atlantis coming to help train Ronan, the biggest badass there ever was. Jason Momoa, shout out. You guys are, you're so fucking awesome. And Chris Judge, beast of Chris Judge. Coming to Atlantis to help to help Ronan not train, but make sure that he doesn't blow up while talking to the IOA. Is it IOA? IOA, I think. Internal Oversight. Either way, it doesn't matter. Government morons. So he's coming there to make sure that he can actually get through this interview so they don't boot him out of the Stargate organization. And of course, they have to go back to Earth for this. The only way to get back and forth to Earth right now, because there's no ZPMs, is through the Midway station, using the chain of Stargates set up, and they have a right in between the 2 galaxies, Midway station. So they arrive, and there's a 2-day, for 14 hours, if I remember correctly. There's a significant quarantine level. So they have to wait a while. They have to decontaminate from one galaxy to the next. Blah, 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 blah. But either way, so the rivalry has already been established. One of the more badass scenes is literally where Ronan gets so mad he decides to go fight Teal'c in the training room. Everybody's going at it for like the longest time. Massive fight. They are beating the crap out of each other. And Sam comes in. How long have they been at this? He's like, oh, a little over an hour. I'm like, an hour? It's like, these guys are so badass. They've been fighting nonstop for an hour, and they've broken a sweat. They're really getting into it. And neither one has the upper hand. It's so awesome. But then, after that, this is just comedic. Both comedic and badassery at the same time. So, they get put in the bunk beds, which is like the only place they can stay. So they both go for the bottom bunk at the same time. Then they just look at each other. Like, okay, neither one's gonna budge. So they put on whatever crappy movie I forgot that they were left to watch, and they're both just standing there with their arms crossed watching the movie, because neither one's giving it up. Then, of course, the Wraith attack, because that's what they do. So they attack Midway. They make it through to Earth, and then Teal and the only one who can save them, because they've stunned all of Stargate Command. They're trying to get out to Earth, trying to find their way, trying to find out where Earth is, the better feeding grounds for the Wraith. Seriously, go watch Stargate Atlantis. So they come through, the only people who can save them. They bring every gun they can, and a couple times they've got to fight the Wraith through. Ronan's being attacked by one of them, and then he gets shot in the back, or the Wraith gets shot in the back by Teal'c using Ronan's gun. If you guys don't know, he has this awesome gun that switches from red to white depending on if he's killing or stunning. And the running gag is that everybody wants that gun because it's so awesome. So even Teal'c's like, I would very much like to have a weapon such as this. And Ronan replies, get in line. And he puts it back in his holster and keeps walking. And then, I forgot, it had to have been right before that or right after it. Teal'c's main thing is he has said the term indeed. And he always says it, indeed, forever. And that's literally why I say the word indeed, is because of Teal'c. But he literally says it, and Ronan remarks to him, he looks over and is like, you know, you say that a lot. And he's like, what? Indeed. And he's like, huh, I never noticed. So friggin' classic. Gotta love that moment. Just, that episode is so much fun. And then, of course, it's just two badasses being badasses. And, of course, they're friends at the end. And then the IOA moron ends up liking Ronan. Because, of course, he saved the day. Why else would he not like him? Oh, jeez. Okay, now for the other episode that tied with this, because it's both Stargate Atlantis, it's Sunday. And Sunday is an episode that I like to call The Longest Day. And I'm sure that this came up before this, but Dawson's Creek, way back when, did an episode called The Longest Day, where you saw everyone's different point of view for the same day. So it follows somebody for 6 minutes, follows somebody else for 10 minutes. But you see what they were doing all until they got to the same point. Sunday does that. You're following everybody's little journey of the day, and the whole base has the day off. It's like just one big day of rest for everybody. So go do what you want to do. Everybody's got some freedom. And Carson wants to go fishing. And he's trying to get everybody. Carson's the main doctor. And he's trying to get every character. He just interacts with everybody. Hey, you want to go fishing? Everybody's got an excuse, can't go fishing with him. And then all things lead up to an explosion in the base. You start seeing the different parts. Somebody exploded. I'm not going into spoilers as to why that person exploded, because you need to go watch the episode and find out. I will spoil the worst part of the episode. Carson dies doing what a good doctor does. Saving lives. Now, even if he had not done what he did, that ended up with him actually dying, he only would have cost the lives of a couple more people. But in reality, he himself was the only one who died at that point. But he saved pretty much everyone else that he could. And of course that leads up to all the main characters looking back on, hey, what could I have done? But the thing is, they pull a switcheroo on you at the end. You see Rodney standing on the dock talking to Carson, and he's like, hey, the funeral was beautiful, gave your mom whatever. And he's like, look, I'm sorry. And then you realize he's not actually there. Rodney's just imagining his best friend talking to him, because he came up with every excuse in the world to not go fishing with his best friend, and that would have saved his life. So, I mean, it's a heavy emotional thing because they killed off a main character. Well, a main supporting character, I should say. He got bigger and bigger up until season 3, and then, of course, boom, dead. Which gets undercut again by doing the TV thing they do. You'd swear it was comic books. They bring him back as a clone. But he doesn't even know he's a clone, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, if I had... It's not even an emotional episode, but there's another one called The Tao of Rodney. Love that episode in and of itself. It was the same season, though. But Sunday will always be the like most emotional episode of Stargate Atlantis there is, for me, anyways. You know, for the just the swelling and the heartache that comes with watching people lose one of their good friends, and also that regret of that last thing you could have said, that last thing you could have done with somebody that passes away. Guys, this top 15 is actually brought to you by today's sponsor, My Wallet. My Wallet is where my money comes from and tends to pay for almost everything that this channel does. But thanks, of course, as always, to the patrons who help support and everybody who does watch the channel. So let's move on to the rest of the top 10. Number 10, Lost, Through the Looking Glass, Part 2. Now, guys, if you don't know by now that I love Lost, it sounds funny, I'm vaguely Shakespearean, love Lost, I think. Anyways, I've always loved Lost, like, since I first watched it, and I got, when it was brand new on TV, I watched through, like, the first 3, possibly 4 seasons, and then things changed, and I didn't get to finish it, so eventually I went back and watched it later, I think. I think that's how it happened. Either way, every 5 years or so, I go back and I binge the entire series, because you really need the break after a while. Personally, for me, one of the best and weirdest series that ever came out of ABC, realistically, in the early 2000s. But the episode I'm talking about, Through the Looking Glass Part 2, there's 2 main moments from this one episode. One, you guys are obviously going to know if you're Lost fans, and it's the Not Penny's boat moment. The entire season, pretty much, Desmond has been trying to keep Charlie from dying. And it finally comes around to an end as Charlie is the only one who can get down to the jamming device. There's an underwater base with a jamming device, and everybody's trying to get off the damn island, all Gilligan style. They've got a radio, but they can't get the boat, nothing like that, that's out in the bay. They cannot get a hold of them, so they can tell them to come get them with a helicopter. So Charlie goes down there, Desmond goes with him. But because Charlie knows that Desmond's trying to save his life, and he knows that he's doomed to die somehow, very weird, you have to watch it. He knocks Desmond out, goes down there by himself. Takes on a couple of the guys by himself that are down there, including one of the badasses. He finally gets down there, finally shuts off the jamming device, and in fact gets a hold of Penny, Desmond's woman. And the whole time they've thought that because Desmond sent out a signal before to get a hold of Penny, they think the boat is Penny's, and that's it. Thing is, he gets a hold of Penny, and it's not her boat. And right then, one of the mercenaries outside the porthole, I know you gotta watch it, but this mercenary he thought was dead knocks on the porthole window outside, has a grenade in his hand. Desmond had just come down there, they were dealing with all this. He didn't hear the message, and because he pulls the pin on the grenade, Charlie slams the door shut, because you won't be able to close it from the outside, so he slams the door shut and locks it, and then the grenade goes off. The room is filling with water, all this stuff, and he's trying to figure out, he's trying to yell at Desmond what's going on, and he can't get a hold of him. So he takes his ever-present Sharpie. He's always got a Sharpie in his pocket. He's always writing something on his knuckles, because he's that emo rock guy who had a drug problem. And realistically, he finally gets his redemption arc. All the crap he's been through, all this other stuff, leads up to the moment where he finally gets to sort of redeem himself for being such an asshole for such a long time. Even though he was a great character, but the drugs and the betrayal, all the other stuff that led up to that moment. He thinks of the only thing he can do. He's running out of time. He's running out of air. The room is filled with water at this point. He writes on his hand with that Sharpie, "Not Penny's boat," and puts it up on the glass. Not Penny's boat. You know, it's one of those moments, because it takes a minute for Desmond to go, "What? What are you talking about?" And then he realizes, okay. And then in that moment where he finally gets it like that, you can see it in Charlie's eyes. He's like, okay, I know I've finally done the thing that I needed to do. He accepts his death finally, because Desmond has told him already he's gonna die. "You're gonna die, Charlie." That's what he says. So he's like, he tried to keep him from dying up until that point, and there's just nothing else he can do. So he accepts his fate, pushes himself away from the door, you know, crosses himself like a good Catholic boy, and just lets himself go. A little while after that, right at the end of the episode, is the second part. And the last couple episodes, you've been getting an awkward flashback. All of Lost is all about flashbacks. Flashbacks, flash forwards, flash sideways, is whatever. You go all over the place. They play loose with everything. But we're starting to see a flashback of Jack, the main character. He's a drunk at this point. He's not a doctor anymore. He's got a beard, and he's just gone off the deep end. And you see him interact with his ex. You know that some stuff has happened there. Talking about, I think they were talking about his son or something at some point. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he's been trying to get a hold of somebody for like 2 episodes. That's why it's called Through the Looking Glass, because things get a little weird. And he finally gets a hold of the person he's been trying to call for the last 2 episodes. And he says, "Hey, can you meet with me?" "Yeah, at the airport." So he goes out there, he's waiting at the end of the runway. And a car drives up. And you're thinking, okay, this is going to be his ex, this is going to be his dad, somebody, because he's trying to fix his relationship with his dad. And it's Kate. And you're like, what the hell is, what? He didn't know Kate before this. How did this happen? And then they talk about it. And they're talking about a funeral. He's like, "Hey, you know, I'm glad you finally missed me." He's like, and then he finally like, "We should never have left." What? Because the whole point of this, what's going on in the regular time, is they're trying to get off the island. And here you're seeing what is clearly a really shitty future. And it leaves off on Jack yelling at her, "We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back." And he's in tears and everything like that. And he knows that he was wrong for leaving the island. And the whole time up to this, Locke has been telling him, "You can't leave. You're not meant to leave." And at this point, because of everything that has happened to him, he finally realizes we weren't meant to leave. And of course, the next season, that was the end of the season. They left that on a cliffhanger. And you're like, what the hell just happened? Now, of course, that was... I believe that was season 3, and things got really wonky in season 4, and that's just where it loses a lot of people. I love Lost. Going back and watching that, it's just like, that was a huge cliffhanger moment, and you're like, what the hell, what is he talking about? You know, they got off the island, how did they get off the, why is this the future? We've been seeing the past for 3 whole seasons, we've been seeing the past. Now we're seeing the future. What the hell happened? Where are we going with this? You know, on top of the big moment of Charlie's death, which was big for a lot of people. A lot of people die on Lost because they do. I mean, you could even go with Libby. And Libby's death would be on here too, but it wasn't nearly as big. She was a minor character. Her death sucked. And the reason she died sucked. Could even go to the end of season 4 would probably be a good... season 5 would probably be a good emotional moment too. Even the finale is a good emotional moment if you can... attach it. A lot of people can't really get into the finale. They don't understand what's going on, and that was kind of the point. They didn't want you to understand what was going on. They wanted you to kind of draw your own conclusions by what you've been shown, and that's why it was awesome. I love Lost. If you love Lost, was this one of your big moments? Let me know. Number 9, Stargate Universe, Season 1, Episode 5, Light. Guys, once again, Stargate fan, and Universe is the best series there was, and it did not get enough time. I'm sorry, Sci-Fi, you screwed up big time. Why did you cancel Stargate Universe? It was so good. In the first 4 or 5 episodes, actually no, even more than that, 6 or 7 episodes of Season 1, everything had an elemental theme. You had, the intro. Then you had Earth. Then you had water. Then you had darkness. So darkness was before this. Destiny is suddenly losing power. And Rush was trying to figure out why. He was trying to do everything he could to stop the Destiny from losing power. Yelling at people, going off the deep end. He hadn't slept in days. And finally, it shuts down. They drop out of light speed. And they find out they're heading into a new solar system. Directly towards the sun of that solar system. No way to turn. No power at all. Just basically watching what's going to happen to death. And in the episode Light, you see everybody kind of coming unhinged a little bit. Because everybody's facing the fact we're all going to die. Just tiny tangent here. When I was talking to Unboxing the Art the other day, we talked about how Stargate universe is like lost in space. Like lost, but in space. Very much so. Like you swear that that's what they do. But either way. So, realistically, to try to retain any sense of hope, they do a lottery system to see who can survive. They have one shuttle and enough supplies for people to survive if they can make it to a planet that can support life. There's 3 planets in the solar system. There's 1 in the Goldilocks zone. 1 that should be perfect, but they can't get to it until they get around to it. They do a lottery. Fights ensue. You see arguments amongst crew and bureaucratic nonsense because they're like, no, I should get it because I'm more important. Shut up. It's a lottery, you know? And you got Eli, who's basically, you know, he's the main character. Everybody loves Eli. He's making a diary or even like kind of a last testament sort of thing using his little Kino recording devices. So everybody's giving their last impression, their last thoughts and whatever, and making little videos. Some people have a lot to say, some people have like nothing to say. And the shuttle leaves and goes off. At the same time, they throw a Kino outside so they can finally see what the Destiny looks like. We've seen it because we've seen it from the outside. I love the Destiny design. I think it's beautiful and simplistic. But like the crazy part is, so here goes the Destiny off towards the star, and the shuttle is heading with I think 11 people in it to the Goldilocks planet. They finally get in sensor range, and they realize that basically it's a dead end. There's not anything they can do. Going back to it's not going to be great. They might survive, but probably not. But it was their only option, and they went for it. At the same time, you go back to Destiny, and you go back to Rush. He's basically laying in his bed after reading his one book, and he realizes, okay. And he silently walks up to the viewing, the observatory or whatever you want to call it, the viewing deck. And you see Eli sitting there with Chloe. They were kind of having their final quiet moments together. And he goes, wait a minute, shouldn't we be dead already? He's like, what? Did the shuttle make it? He's like, no, we should be dead. And he's like, what? What do you mean? We should have burnt. He's like, what about all the burning and the melting and all this stuff like that? And shit being torn asunder by gravitational waves. He's like, no, none of that. None of it's happening. It's like, well, that should have already happened. We should be dead. And, you know, mind you, they can see everything that's in front of them. It's a giant window. And they're flying into the sun. And they're like, wait a minute, why are we still alive? And then that's when he realizes that the Destiny had shut everything down to save its power reserves, to divert them to the shields. Because the shields can protect from damn near anything. We learned that throughout the series. Almost nothing can get through Destiny's shields. But it had to recharge. It was nearly dead. And the way that this Destiny recharges is by flying into stars. And Rush says it best. Destiny is powered by the stars themselves. There can be no other answer. Quite literally solar powered. So you see the little energy collectors drop down from underneath the ship, and they start sparkling, because that's what happens. And they're literally inside the corona of the sun, you know, and they're going even further into it. And, like, everything starts powering on. They run to the command center and everything like that. The holographic display that they never even knew was there pops up, and it said, guys, we're inside the sun. Because they couldn't tell. From their side, it was just all fire and whatnot. And yeah, there goes the power shooting back up. That's what happened. Gotta love the visuals are amazing. I'm like 90% sure the guys who did Universe were the same people who did Battlestar Galactica. So the star battle, everything that happens in space looks amazing. So after that amazing moment, the music swells. You see the Destiny rise, literally rising up out of the sun. And thrusters kick on, and it's actually flying away. You're like, yes, yes, they're not dead. That's awesome. And then you go, oh crap, the people are still in the shuttle. We gotta go get them. They can't control the Destiny. It's on autopilot. So they finally get a hold of the shuttle. They tell them to basically pull a slingshot maneuver around the crappy planet because they can't get back there in time. And they barely dock. It's so awesome. Like, they really just do crazy everything. Like, just love that episode. There's a lot of good episodes of Universe. And like I said about Atlantis, a lot of good episodes. Stargate Universe had some huge friggin' moments. Realizations. Battles. Everything. Go watch Universe. It's on Hulu if you have it. It should still be on Netflix as well. I'm not sure. Love Stargate Universe. Amazing cast. Amazing visuals, great writing, and you actually get plenty of callbacks to SG-1 and Atlantis, so that's awesome. Number 8, Captain America: Civil War. Guys, Civil War was one of the most badass movies of last year, or year before. Which year did it come? Either way, whenever it came out. Just good lord, everything that we had been wanting to see from the MCU finally together. But two moments that really kind of stick out a little bit more than the others, because it's a huge action-packed movie, obviously, and yeah, it's going to be the obvious ones. It's the airport fight sequence first and foremost. Everybody coming together, fighting on each side. The introduction of Spider-Man, you actually get to see him web-slinging, flying around, being a jokester. All the stuff like that. Giant Man coming out of nowhere. Ant-Man running around inside of Iron Man's suit. Black Panther just being a badass, because he just repeatedly has shown that he's a badass. And just, it was so good. And then the emotional moment at the end where they're trying to fly away and Vision accidentally shoots down Rhodey. And you think right up to the last second that they're going to catch him, they're going to get to him, and then, as one of my reviewers that I like to watch says, it pans down so slowly you don't see the ground until he hits it. Just boom, and you're there, and you're like, wow, just wow, and like of course everybody at that point except for Cap gets captured, of course Winter Soldier too, but. Leading up to the finale of, the final battle, they finally get down there. Iron Man catches up to them in Russia. And then everything leading up to the he killed my mom moment. Learning the truth that the Winter Soldier killed his parents. They didn't just die in a car accident. And just the pained look on Iron Man's face is ridiculous. And the fact that Steve didn't want to tell him. He's like, dude, I don't want to hurt you. He's like, he's my friend. You're my friend. I don't want to do this. I don't want to even be here. Yeah, even though he didn't say, I knew it had happened, I didn't know that he did this. Just, it's so big. And then Zemo, like, they're in the middle of this massive fight with just the three of them. Going back and forth, Winter Soldier, Captain America just tearing into Iron Man, literally and figuratively speaking. And then in the end, they've got him on the ground. They've got his arc reactor pretty much done. And he thinks the Cap's going to kill him, and then he just disables the armor. And he's like, you don't deserve that shield. My father made that. And he leaves it. And you're just like, wow. The hell, But then that other moment, of course, it was in the trailers, he's my friend Tony. And he's like, so was I. Everything about that. But then in the middle of that fight, you've got Zemo outside listening to the voicemail from his wife one last time. And he's going to kill himself. Black Panther sneaks up on him. And he's like, and the whole speech he gives him about vengeance. And he's like, vengeance has consumed you. It's consuming them. I will let it consume me no longer. Or I will no longer let it consume me. That's just so good. And you just see just everything that makes Chadwick Boseman a badass as an actor right there on the page. Or screen, rather. Just so good. Civil War just had a ton of moments. It's just really good, sincere, emotional moments where it's an up and down. It's like, yay, amazing battles between these superheroes that I've seen for years. And then, oh shit, somebody died almost. Maybe, is he dead? We don't even know if he's dead. We don't find out what happened to Rhodey until the end. He's like, just, okay, we think he's okay. And then you find that he's paralyzed, of course. Wow. It's just wow. And then, yeah, the almost losing Spider-Man. Tony's like, no, kid, you're done. You're done. He's like finally taking that responsibility that Tony never takes for anything. And that's so great. But yeah, Civil War, good stuff. Number 7, Firefly, Episode 8, Out of Gas. And Episode 12, The Message. Okay, guys, first and foremost, you can't take the sky from me. Screw you. Everything is shiny. No. Actually, in this episode, nothing is shiny. Out of gas. The whole thing, the whole damn episode, best episode of Firefly ever. Sorry. Just, it's that good. I mean, Objects in Space is a really good episode, but Out of Gas, even better. You get the whole backstory of how the crew came together, how they even got the Serenity in the first place. On top of that, all these flashbacks, you get the story of what's happening right here, right now. The really happy moment at dinner turns into disaster when the engine explodes, leaving them dead in the water, hence out of gas. Is Dead in the Water an episode? No, wait, that's a Stargate episode. But anyways, and they're doing everything they can to survive. They can't fix the thing. They can't get any help. So they send the crew, they split the crew up in 2 directions, leaving Mal alone on the ship. Basically, Captain goes down with the ship. But he tries everything he can, even nearly pushing himself to the brink of death. You know, gets the part that he needs to fix the ship. And you see it like... I'm sorry, Nathan Fillion just... God. So good. And even the final moments, you know, he's talking about, you know, ship that'll stick with you forever, you know, all the things like that. Basically, he's trying to save the life of the only thing that matters to him, and that's the ship. That's his family on the crew. You know, he made sure that they could get back. It's just, oh, God, that episode gets me. and he's so friggin' injured by the end of it. It's ridiculous. But he actually, of course, saves the day, like Mal does. Guys, if you've never watched Firefly, what are you waiting for? It's like, I need to get Miss Shoky to watch the whole thing. I need to get her to put her phone down and watch Firefly with me. Now, the last one is The Message. Episode 12. Wasn't the last episode, it was third to last. Fourth to last. But an old friend comes a-calling on the crew by leaving his dead body for Mal and Zoe in a coffin, not just laying around. It's all kinds of weirdness. You know, they have no idea why this guy showed up. And then, of course, he's not dead. You get flashbacks back to the war with how they even met him in the first place, because he keeps calling him Sarge. And that's, of course, because he was underneath him back in the day. And it's a long story of not quite understanding everything, not quite seeing everything for what it is. And there's a couple moments in there, and of course everything likes to come back around, because Mal says at one point, he's like, hey, you never know, Tracy, there's some fat out there right now carrying a bullet for you, you know, just waiting to get to you. But the whole thing is about this kid who just got lost along the way. And there's a huge speech, because the whole point of the message is he left a message for his mom and his parents and everything like that. And it plays at the beginning of the episode and plays throughout the whole end of the episode, because of course the guy ends up dying, sadly. Mal had to put him down, and he's like, you shot me, Sarge. He's like, no. He's like, and then he said, you killed me, Sarge. And I was like, no, I just carried the bullet a while. It's just like, wow. Just so good. He ended up killing him. He had to save the crew. He was gonna kill Kaylee. You don't mess with Kaylee. You don't. Sorry. And the end, of course, they're playing the message over the end scene, which is his funeral. They finally get home to his home planet. They're doing his funeral. It's a snowy scene. You see the whole crew out there, and there's just this beautiful music playing over this violin. Just super somber and sad moment. And you get the whole speech. It says, when you can't walk, you crawl. And when you can't crawl, well, you gotta find someone to carry you. But actually in the message he says, you know how it goes. And that was the whole point. They carried him to the end, because he couldn't get there on his own. But the saddest part about it, and this is where the real feels come from, when you find out the truth, that right before shooting that final scene and all that stuff, they were told that the series was canceled. They still had more to film, but the series was canceled. They weren't going to get a whole thing out of it. So you see the reaction, the emotion in their face as they know that basically not only did they lose a job, but they knew they lost something special even then. So piling all of that together, it just makes that end of the message just so heavy. I love Firefly. Damn you, Fox. Actually, I don't even know if I should damn you, because your cancellation is what made it good, but we don't have it anymore because you canceled it. Now, guys, there hasn't been a whole lot of anime on this list yet, so that's where this is going to start. However, there's a couple entries from this one series. So we're going to roll into this as number 6. Naruto Shippuden. Jiraiya versus Pain and Jiraiya's death. Yep. Yeah, you can tell that we're getting to the top, almost to the top 5, because it's going to get harder and harder to talk about some of these things. If you don't love Jiraiya from Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, what's wrong with you? He's a perverted hermit! Ero Sensei! Yeah. Another father figure for Naruto, because he needs more. And in an almost literal sense, a grandfather figure for Naruto. The entire Pain arc, from the time that Jiraiya finds him in the Hidden Rain. I mean, you eventually get the entire backstory between Jiriya and the kids and what it meant, but before that, Jiriya's trying to investigate, trying to find the truth behind Akatsuki, and he had been since the first series. That's what was crazy. He'd been digging into it, and he finally tracks his way all the way to Pain. And the battle, the sheer fight, the insanity of Pain coming out and fighting as 6 people. The 6 paths of Pain, all who have ridiculous individual powers, summoning crazy creatures, negating attacks, absorbing chakra, being a robot. That's a power. I don't know how. And then Jiriya, you had always heard that he was a badass, and we've only got to see him fight once, maybe technically twice. He taught Naruto the Rasengan, and you actually see him pull out something he learned with Naruto, the Odama Rasengan. Sorry, Cho Odama. He goes into Sage mode. We had never seen Sage mode before. And while it's imperfect and he ends up looking mostly like a frog, he's whipping ass against the Pains. Even kills at least one of them, maybe 2. Which, of course, we learned later didn't do any good. Definitely 1. He definitely killed 1. And the whole time, he finally figures out the truth. Finally figures it out when he realizes what the main central Pain is doing. And what he looks like. And we don't get to really see it until later, I think. I can't remember which came first. But, he's got the frog sages with him. One on each shoulder, because they're the only ones who can give him the nature chakra. He can't learn it while fighting. And like in the end, he sends one back with the message, and and the other one stays with him to help fight up until the end. He ends up losing a whole freaking arm. It's insane. And then using what last little chakra he has, he inscribes a code on the back of the Toad Lord, just so that somebody can find it. Of course, it's a message specifically for Naruto to find. And the pains come down on him in the end and just spike him to death, and then he ends up falling into the basically like an ocean. But as he's going down, he's thinking to himself, he's like, oh, I finally have the next idea for my book. Jiriya the Great or whatever. I forgot what he called it. It doesn't even matter really. But like as he's floating down to his death, he's thinking, oh, hey, there's my next book idea. And then the Pains are standing there watching, we need a moment of silence for Jiriya, or our master Jiriya. And then, I forgot where he was at this point. I think Naruto was coming back from the Five Kage Summit. And he's jumping through the trees, and all of a sudden there's a ghost hand touches him, and it's Jiriya, and he stops for a second. He's like, what? And then later to find out that Jiriya had died. It was just, wow. We hadn't really lost many main characters at all until that point. And you're like, okay, this is new. We've had badass bad guys before, but we just lost one of the most badass good guys ever. How do we go from here? And then when Tsunade finds out, just either way. Now, I could tag in the flip side of this, because Naruto versus Pain was so badass. So we can keep that going. It's like, then you get the opposite side. You finally get the vengeance. Naruto comes back he comes back and beats the man who beat his master, and just so good. I didn't really include that in here because the Jiriya's death and just the struggle and all that was bigger, I think, in my opinion. And I love Shippuden, I love Naruto, always have, and it's just ridiculous. God. Oh man, I don't even know. And like I said, this we're about to hit the top 5, and some of these moments that we're about to go into, they're awesome. But Jiriya's death is it's one of those things. Jeez. Going into the top 5 with number 5, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Come on. You knew this was going to be on here, right? And yeah, it's going to be that one moment, but there's more. There was a whole lot in this movie. Tons of feels, up and down, epic freaking moments. And then, of course, one of the biggest heartbreaking moments in all of cinema history, probably. In my mind. Han's death at the hands of his son. Rest in peace. But I want to go the other route. That's heavy. That was super heavy. Tears in the theater, everything, everybody crying. But I'm going with more badass moments than that. More badass emotional moments. Rey hopping into the Falcon for the first time, running away from the TIE fighters and flying that thing like a boss. You got to see someone we don't even know really, but is clearly shown to be pretty cool, and we know as the main character, hop into the coolest damn starship ever and fly it better than Han did, better than even Lando did. And you're like, just that whole moment, flipping upside down to use the bottom cannon because they couldn't get around it. Holy crap. And yeah, the whole chase scene was awesome. Flying through Death Stars, or I'm sorry, no, Star Destroyers, wrong one. That was so freaking epic. The space battles were awesome. The assault on Starkiller was really awesome for the most part. Oh, Poe coming in to save the day at Maz's castle and shooting, I think, like 14 TIE fighters down, and including actually shooting people on the ground. Holy crap. That's the best damn pilot I've ever seen. But the bigger moment out of all of that, you got Finn versus Kylo. Somebody totally unrelated fighting with Luke's lightsaber, going up against Kylo Ren, the young badass, the young Vader, as it were. And just, he holds his own for a minute, or at least it looks like he does. Pretty much Kylo's playing with him. And then he takes him down, cuts him across the back. And there's the lightsaber laying on the ground. And he's pissed at this point because he's been shot by a bowcaster. That's going to make you mad. He's trying to force pull the saber to him. It's shaking in the snow. Very reminiscent of Empire. And he pulls it. And then it goes... And it gets out of the way. And it flies into Rey's hands. And you're like, yes! Win! Didn't even matter what was happening after that. You're like, she did it. She gave in. She said, come to me, lightsaber. We don't actually know. We don't actually see what happens on her face. But she grabs it and then just like, okay. Turns it on. And their ensuing fight, he's pissed. He's like, I'm getting this lightsaber. And I'm killing you because I really don't like you at this point. And he's just beating her back. Gets her to the edge of the cliff. I could teach you. You just need a master. I can show you how to do it. And she just lets go. And you know? It's like... She finally reaches out and lets the force inside. That sounds weird. Either way. And then she relaxes and she lets it go. And she kicks his ass. I'm sorry. He has been made out to be a badass and super powerful since the beginning of the movie. And she kicks his ass. Mind you, he's been injured, but she kicks his ass. She's never held a lightsaber and used it before. Never fought anything like that. And it just shows you, yeah, the Force has awakened and it means business. Now, I'm not going to go into The Last Jedi. It has some amazing moments, but I'm going with The Force Awakens for this instead. You guys, if you've seen The Last Jedi, you know the awesome moments that were in it. Just assume they're right up in here with this. They would definitely be in the top 5. So, let's move on. Going back to the Shippuden well, got number 4, Naruto Shippuden, Season 9, Episode 477, Naruto and Sasuke. 15 years. 15 years fans have waited for this fight to happen. We've gotten teasers, we've gotten smaller versions, but this was the fight. The 4th Great Ninja War is over. All the big bosses have been defeated. And of course, Sasuke turns on Naruto. Everything leading up to this has just been an escalation of their power. They just keep getting stronger and stronger, even while fighting the biggest, baddest bosses ever. You get Madara, they take him down. You know, you get Kaguya, even stronger, basically God, they take her down. And now the final, he knew it from the beginning. Even Hagoromo knew it. These two are going to have to fight. He's like, I didn't really see that coming. Yes, you did. Shut up. And he turns on him. Everything up till then has just been normal fighting on the ground. And then, okay, now we're going full-on Susanoo. We're going full-on Bijou mode. Going at it full power. Until Sasuke decides to pull all of the Bijou that he's trapped, and he sucks in all of their chakra to himself, making his Susanoo just absolutely massive and just a huge ultimate version of this thing. Naruto comes back at him with everything he has, and Sasuke's attacking him, not just with physical things, but with words. He said, look at you, still using that technique, talking about the shadow clones. It's like, of course, anything to show that you're not lonely. And he's like, God, dude. He's like, really? It's like, you're just as lonely as him. We've seen it. We know this. And they come together literally in like this biggest clash, this largest explosion, probably in almost any anime. It's so fucking huge. It basically destroys the Valley of the End below them. Like the whole thing. The lake, the waterfall, almost everything is destroyed except for the statues. And both of them fall. Chakra completely exhausted. They land on the ground. They finally get back up, and basically the next 10 minutes is one of the most gut-wrenching fights between two best friends, two rivals, two brothers who have lost so much. They fought together, they fought against each other, and now they're fighting for what they believe in more than anything else. Sasuke, who wants to change the world, but only by using his power and his will, and not by anything else. And then you got Naruto, who's the only thing holding him back, the only last tie to reality, to his heart, and he's got to kill him. And then you've got Naruto on the other side, who's just like, you're my best friend, and I'm not letting you go. That's it. I mean, totally out of chakra. They're literally just punching each other, kicking each other. And you hear the smacks, the punch, the blood comes out. The gut-wrenching yells. The eyes getting swollen. I think teeth getting knocked out. I could be wrong. And then you realize that you're hearing all of this so crisp because there's no background music. They completely cut the music, so it's just them. And they cut away and they go over to Sakura and Kakashi. And she wakes up and she's like, where are they? They're fighting their final battle right now. And you got music during that. And then the same sad music, when they cut back, is still playing, but it's still pretty quiet. And you got a really wide shot of what's left of this lake. Just this little creek at this point that they're fighting in. And this music's playing, just slowly coming in on them. Totally exhausted, barely on their feet, but still trying to throw punches. Totally missing, going over each other. Trying to spear him, and he just throws him over. It's just like, God, they've got nothing left except for what's inside them. There's no power left in them. There's just that. And then the music cuts again. And it goes a little bit further, you know, there's steals power from Naruto. They come at it again. I think one of the best moments in this, and you're just like watching them go at it, and you're like, Sasuke's about to kill him. He's got nothing left. He's coming down on him with a Chidori. And right then he runs out of enough chakra that his eye fades for a second. And Naruto's looking down at his headband, and he sees a flash of himself as a kid. And like, it's hard to catch because it's literally just a ching, you see it. And in that moment, it was also the reflection of Sasuke now looking at, and dodges the Chidori coming for his head, just sidesteps it and uppercuts him straight in the jaw, sending him flying into what's left of the mountainside. And you're like, holy crap. Just like, and there was a moment in there where Naruto knocks him back. And Sasuke gets up again, and Naruto's just like, he's like, okay, I have to keep going. He was at that point, he's all like, I am dead. I am exhausted. I have to keep going. It's like, this just, he's not there yet. He hasn't figured it out yet. I have to keep going. And it comes down, of course, to the final showdown, Rasengan versus Chidori and Amaterasu. And same as it was before, Sasuke from above, Naruto from below. And he's got, the QB has been behind him. And this is another thing. He goes into that inside realm. And the QB's like, well, you're almost dead. He's got all that power. He's going to use what he can. I'll give you whatever I've got left, but you've got to wait till the last second so he doesn't absorb it. If you do this, and Naruto's just looking up at him silently. And he just puts his hand out. And he's like, I know what I got to do. Shut up. And just quick fist bump. And goes to sleep. And then right as he's getting up there, he releases the Rasengan. And you see everybody's hand. Jiriya's hand. Kakashi's hand, Sakura, everybody, all of his friends, his family, and then of course at the last part, Minato and Kushina's hand. And then kicks into full blast, and then it hits. And then the episode ends in a big flash. Everything gets destroyed. You're like, Did they die? Of course, if you read the manga, you don't know they died. But God, that episode. 15 years. Just, wow. I watched it earlier before doing this, and I'm like, okay. Yep. Yep. Now, of course, following that, you get a couple good, heartwarming episodes right after that, but the fight was what was necessary. After that, it's all talking, and the talking mattered. The flashbacks also matter, but wow. I mean, you get the flashbacks to when they were kids, and Sasuke was kicking his ass and showed him no respect. And then it comes, of course, full circle. But if you're not a fan of Shippuden, or you just think it's some kind of dumb shonen thing, or shonen series, well, I mean, you're right. But it's good. It's good because of that. Number 3. Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. Season 2. Episode 25. Their Place. I'm gonna need a minute, guys. You knew it was gonna be on here, right? You knew this had to be on here. It's me. IBO. I mean, what else can I say? It's Tekadon's last stand. Everything they fought for has come to an end. Their friends have died. Their supplies are cut off. They've got nothing left. All they have is a base and a whole bunch of people to protect, and nothing left. All their enemies coming for them. It's their last stand. I mean, it's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, basically. The only thing they have is go out there and distract Yellowhorn until everybody can escape. And everything leading up to this have just shown failure, 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 failure. Even the badass McGillis is dead. They get out there in the battlefield with all the mobile suits they've got left against God knows how many Yellowhorn goons and grazes and whatnot. And the Gundam just go to work. Let's just be honest here. Those things are badass. Barbatos, Gujin, just going to town, doing work, putting in work, as it were. Just fighting everything like that, and they think everybody's going to get away. They've got the bombs set to go off, so the base is going to explode. Everybody thinks the base is dead. Everyone's dead. Plot armor breaker. Of course. Dying Slave. From orbit, they rain Dying Slaves down on the Gundams. And just like, God. It's over. There's nothing left. The base is in rubble. The Gundams are gone. Yellowhorn won. You're not sure if the people escaped the tunnels. And then there's that tail. Barbatos comes up. Gujin gets up. Barely. Mika, are you dead? Not yet. Both Gundams stripped to almost nothing, destroyed. Gujin really destroyed. And then you just get that. Mika lets the demon out. And yeah, just those moments. Barbatos zooming around the battlefield so fast they can't even react. Cutting people down, ripping them in half, sticking his hand up through, crunching the frickin' cores. You got Julieta off to the side and like, monster, you know, why would you do that? And she's warning guys, don't get close, and then they just get shredded because you don't have to get close, he will get close to you. That tail coming along, tripping people up. He takes 3 axes to the chest and just like, really? Breaks it, like, rips one off, breaks the others around, and then just shreds those guys. Until he has to go up against Julieta. And then you've got Akihiro on the other side, going up against Eok. That motherfucking Eok. Stand back, guys! I'll get him! I'll avenge, whatever! Shut up, you moron. He comes in, Akihiro's nearly dead. There's almost nothing left. Knocks him to the ground, he's kicking him, and he's about to stab him with a sword. And that's when Eog makes the worst mistake ever. And tells him who he is. And he's like, what? You! Gets up from the ground. Grabs his nippers that are just right there. Using the 2 remaining arms of Gujin. Finally gets his revenge. And crushes that little fucking bastard to death. In one of the best scenes ever. This one. Oh, I'm going to show it again. Yeah. Even though he dies right after that, he gets to die happy. And he said, good things come to you. Or if you wait long enough, good things can come to you. Yeah, that's basically what happens. And then he dies, and like I forgot exactly what he said about her, but he can at least, you can go be with laughter now, Akihiro. Sorry. Then of course, following Akihiro dying, you got Mika making his last stand against Julieta. And just, he's coming at her full steam, the tail's coming at her, and then all of a sudden just drops. And, well, you guys know the rest. And it still gets me every single time. Like, first of all, okay, the hero died. He died trying to defend the people he loved. And he finally realized, you know, this is a place that we can make our own, you know. Finally let Julieta know why he's fighting for what he's doing. Why he's doing the things he's doing. It's like, because we want to have somewhere for us to go. We want to have a place of our own, you know. And even though she just basically killed him, she understood what was going on, why Tekadon was doing the things they were doing. And, you know, of course, the heart-wrenching part where she puts the sword through Barbatos and takes off its head, and just like, God, was that necessary, woman? I get the symbolism. They had to kill the demon, and that's what she said, the demon is dead. And it's just like, God, come on. Ugh. It hurt, you know. And even if we jump to like 5 years later, or exactly what it was, you know, the quote-unquote happy future, Kudali is the leader. She's finally worked a deal, even with Rustal, the one who killed everybody, working a deal with him. You get Ride finally getting revenge and killing the bastard who betrayed Orga in the first place. That was awesome. Killed him on the toilet. Yeah. And then of course you finally get to see that awkward moment where you know that children had sex and now there's a baby. Well, I guess he's not a baby at this point, he's a kid. You know, you get Mikazuki's son, Katsuki. It's just, yeah. I mean, it was a quote-unquote happy ending. Realistically, for most of the people who survived, they all got to have a real life that they were all fighting for. Just none of the heroes that made it happen survived, and they didn't get to see that. And that's the part that sucks the most. And I love IBO. You guys know I love IBO, and it's just, second season had a lot of flaws, but then that back half of the second season, it's just killing you, literally. Oh, as if it wasn't bad enough losing Biscuit in the first season. That was hard. It just, wow. This is going to be a hard one to get through. Number 2. Transformers Beast Wars. Season 2, Episode 9. Code of Hero. Give me a minute. Okay. We all know this is one of the best moments in Transformers history, right? after everything, you know, having to betray the Maximals a little bit, giving up the golden disc to Megatron, realizing he screwed up, trying to deal with the guilt, trying to deal with his own existence, and what is his purpose? What is he doing? Dinobot gets thrown into battle to save everything. Because Megatron discovers the secrets of the golden disc, that he can actually change the future of Earth. He can actually make things change for real. And previously we'd already seen, I think we'd already seen at least the proto-humans. You know, we'd already been introduced to them. But now that we know that they truly are humanity, they're not just like monkeys, whatever. Megatron's makes the thing, he's like, I'm gonna wipe them all out. Humans helped the Autobots win the Great War. Without humanity, the Autobots are gonna lose. So he wages an all-out attack. You guys know how it goes. Brings everybody, brings all the guns, everything with him to wipe out this shred, literally shred of what's the beginning of humanity. And the only person close enough is Dinobot. You get to see a badass be a badass. He takes on everyone and beats everyone. Single-handedly takes out all of the Predacons. I think he cuts Inferno in half with his sword, which, how he survived that, nobody knows. Let's just say this, the rules of death don't necessarily apply to everybody in Beast Wars. He blows up Rampage with Waspinator, if I remember correctly. Jams Waspinator in his cannon. Boom. How they survive, nobody knows. But he beats them. Takes on so much damage, especially from Megatron alone, that he has to go into stasis lock to protect his spark. And because he knows the battle's not over, he refuses. He literally says, override. Override, override. It's just, good God. And he goes to... Megatron's just literally beating him down. And he's like, you've got no weapons left, Dinobot. Come on. What do you got? And so he picks up this root, this tree that's nearby. And he's like, really, Dinobot? A stick against a transmetal? And he whips it over, gets the rock, and he just it turns into a huge hammer and beats the hell out of Megatron. Hits him so hard he knocks the golden disc out of his compartment. And then using the last of his energy, laser eyes the disc into shards. Just like, wow. And right then, of course, when everything's beaten, the rest of the Maximals show up and just start kicking ass of whoever's left. And then Megatron's so close. I was so close. I think that was that moment. I can't remember. God. And yeah. Then you get that heart-wrenching moment. Dinobot, whatever's left of him, finally gets to say goodbye. He knows he's dying. I'm not even going to do the speech. I'm just going to put it on the screen so you can all cry.
Tell my tale to those who ask. Tell it truly. The ill deeds, along with the good. And let me be judged accordingly. The rest is silence.
And yeah. Scott McNeil at his best. Not gonna lie. And you know, he dies finally knowing what his place was. And that his spark gets to join the Matrix, knowing that it was given to save countless others. Billions. Billions of people. Wow. Just a hero indeed. Alright, before we get to the tear-jerking number one, I'm going to do a bunch of honorable mentions, because this would have been a much longer list. And yeah, you could say I could do more than one list. There'll be more lists. But just a couple several, 95 of them. Alright. Attack on Titan, Season 2, right at the end. Aaron becomes the coordinate. that fight, that moment. He punched a dude with a Titan. Bleach. Couple moments. Ichigo returns to fight Aizen. And then Ichigo gets his power back to go beat the hell out of Ginjo. Those moments, of course, big climactic moments. Sword Art Online. At least Season 1. We're going to go first. Kirito dual wields for the first time. And then the end of the series. Of course, not going to leave this moment off. Gundam Wing, Endless Waltz, Wing Zero's assault on the fortress. Why don't you just show me how powerless you really are? Roger that. Badass. Captain America, Winter Soldier. Most of it. And last but not least, Kamina's death in Gurren Lagann. And actually, Simone's return after his death. That was like going to be like a whole moment on its own. Because it's just a series. From the moment Kamina dies, the episode where Simone is just literally in the dumps. He's literally where they just throw away stuff in the shadow of the city. And he's just drilling away, completely mindless, doing whatever, making Kamina statues. And he finds Nia. And he finds his new purpose. And then he gives that whole big speech. He joins in with Rasu. And he does that whole big speech, you know. My brother's dead. He's gone. But he lives on in my heart and on my back. And just all of that. Amazing. In case you don't know, I love Gurren Lagann. Nope. Nope. I don't want to do number 1. I don't want to do it. No. I'm gonna cry. I don't want to do it. Nope. Nope. Damn you, Stephen Moffat. Number 1. Doctor Who. Season 7, Episode 5. The Angels Take Manhattan. I need a beer. Okay, I'm going to have to do a lot of cuts for this one. Mid-season finale of Season 7. It had been a weird season already. It was just weird. We had had the Pawns for pretty much 3 whole seasons and at least 1 Christmas episode. It just... First of all, they brought back River. That's always good. It just... Everything about this episode, man. The mystery of what's going on. How the hell there are angels. Why is the Statue of Liberty a weeping angel? It's a semi-terrifying episode in some aspects because the weeping angels are some of the scariest things on the planet. But then... You think they escape mostly intact. And you see a grave that says Rory Williams. And you turn around and he's gone. And there's a frickin' angel standing there. And the Doctor has to face one of the hardest things he's ever had to. Something he has no control over. Amy Pond. After God knows how long they were with him. Even they don't know. I think they even admit that. They'd spent years with the Doctor already. Just hopping through time, having fun, trying to have a normal life, and then they just said, screw it, let's just be us. And they address the fact that they've been getting older. He starts seeing wrinkles in her. He's like, when did you start wearing glasses? That and any other. And then, you know, they play with time a little weirder here. Because it's Doctor Who, that's what they do. They left everything in such a paradox that they could not go back for Rory. He was gone. And Amy has to make the hardest decision she's ever made. She had to choose Rory over the Doctor. And everything about this moment, it just, good God. And you could tell it was hard in the moment for them to film it. And you can see it. They were so in the moment, they were so in it, that Matt Smith screwed up his lines and they left it because they weren't going to do another take. You know, it's like any Whovian knows, you can watch it. He screwed up his line. He said the wrong thing. And they had to keep rolling with it. And good God, just, you know, he had to deal with the fact that his best friend, his mother-in-law, he loses her forever and he can't do anything to save her. And in the end, he knows that she was happy because she got to be with Rory. They got to spend the rest of their lives together. They may have been trapped in a hotel, but they could live the rest of their lives together. 3 seasons, just in depth, every damn thing with these characters. Losing Rory over and over. Rebooting the whole damn universe. Having a kid. Just, oh God. I can't... It was on TV, and that moment came on. And I start crying. My wife's looking at me, what's wrong with you? I say, shut up. Don't look at me. Just don't look at me, guys. Just God. And River accepts it because River knows, you know. She knows every damn thing. Though I guess, realistically, now I'm thinking about it, they always tie everything together in Doctor Who. So, of course, the book he starts reading at the beginning, he finally, of course, is written by Amy, but he doesn't know it. He never looked. And because the Doctor never wants to know how a story ends, he rips the last page out, and that way the story never does. So he rips the last page out and leaves it, and then they go on this big grand adventure. And then he finds out that the book that he had been reading was written by Amy, and he needed to read the last page. So he runs back to get it. Central Park, mind you. He gets it, and the whole thing as a message from Amy to him, and it's just so fucking good. But that moment, you know, Raggedy Man, goodbye, just... yeah, whatever. There's a lot of good Doctor Who moments, but that one is more emotional in my mind than most of the others. David Tennant being a badass, Matt Smith's goodbye, all those things are dwarfed. Saying goodbye to Rose, saying goodbye to Martha, whoop-de-doo, saying, you know, losing Donna, all those moments, super sad, super emotional. Nothing to losing Amy and Rory. I'm sorry. And then knowing that the Doctor went a few hundred more years wallowing in his sorrow, being alone, was even more heartbreaking when he comes back around. But, you know, he gets to just sort of relive some of it, gets to be happy again and everything. It's just, but he almost didn't recover from it. And I think good Whovians probably haven't either. It's never going to end. It's never going to be, you know, Rory dying first was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. Amy getting trapped in an alternate side timeline, that was also bad. But God. And then Appalachia. Don't go to Appalachia. Also the Husbands of River song was pretty emotional near the end. I'm not gonna lie. Anything tied directly to the Ponds or River song gets pretty emotional eventually. But yeah. Alright guys, so that's it for my top 15 and then some most emotional moments in nerddom, I guess, or at least in the things that I nerd out about: anime, movies, TV, whatever. Tell me what you thought about mine and give me a few of yours. What are your things? You know, what are the series what are the movies, whatever, that got you emotionally, either in a negative or a positive way, got you super hyped, super pumped, stuff like that. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you made it all the way through this. And, of course, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I've been growing every freaking day. And, of course, thanks to my Patreon guys, John, Andy, Steve. You guys are great. And I will catch you on the next one, guys. Remember, as always, keep on nerding. Goodbye.